Hello and welcome to a wonderful Friday, and here at Go Narrative we are doing another teardown, a web teardown. So as we all know, obviously the web, our web site, our homepage, it's that best foot forward that we put out there into the digital realm. Even with everything fancy in the world of AI and you name it, the homepage is still playing a vital role. And without it, well, people don't know what we do they? Now, the other thing about our beloved homepages, of course, is they reflect other parts of the business, how we talk about the business, the language we use, the messaging we use, the stories we try and tell. As a founder, I want you to shift gears a second here and think about not your website, but I want you to think about your sales team. Have you ever watched one of your AEs turn a slam dunk into a shrug? I'm sure we've all been there, right? That kind of, oh shoot moment, right? Where we just can't believe what we have just witnessed. We thought we knew what was going to happen. We thought we could see the future. It was good. And then suddenly it wasn't, right? We've all been there. And it's so tempting when one of our sellers does that to think that they made a mistake. Now, maybe there are times when that's the case, but we're not here to make excuses, right? We're here to say, when that goes wrong, because it went wrong. Why did it go wrong? And I've got news. It's not them. It's your story. What do I mean by that? We're going to look at a site today and we're going to see how this can all start to transpire and take place, and those types of slam dunk moments turn into shrugs. When we look at a company's homepage, right? Like I said, it's our best foot forward, and it reflects what we're trying to say about the company. It can reflect that if there's inner confusion, it can reflect it. And when the first few seconds that somebody spends on our website is all about us, brand heavy, if you will, noun heavy, all these different things, often capabilities, products, services that we play in the world of. That is a really good indicator of something, like I said, something that is not quite right in the world of the messaging of the company. And when you think about that AE and that slam dunk moment that went so wrong that you just still have cold sweats when you think about it, and you think about the potential confusion that created for the prospect in the room, you can't help but think about if that prospect would be confused if they went to your website. And this goes back to what I said about what the problem is. It's not them, it's your story. It's not the AE, it's your story. Why is the AE confused? Why is the prospect in that conversation confused? Well, because of what the AE is saying. And the AE has been briefed by the best people in your company, possibly even yourself. And they're reflecting what they understand and what they're able to communicate about your company. And that is the funny thing about this connection between the website and what a salesperson can say in a real world meeting with a real world valuable potential prospect for the business. And in both of those cases, I want you to think about the prospect or the visitor to the website and what they are going through. And I want you to do this by thinking about yourself being in that position. The last website that you went to when you were looking for something, the last time somebody tried selling something to you. And there's probably two types of things that you're thinking, that you're kind of living, that you're experiencing when you are going through that, right? One is you're paying attention to and seeking to buy outcomes, right? Often that solution, you know, the eternal solution to the problem, right? The thing that you're getting, but you're also buying something else. And what you're also buying is what that new world looks like, right? Call it a scene, if you will, right? This is where I can imagine myself being. And the best sellers in the world who are empowered with the right story to tell from your company and the best websites in the world do the same thing. And that is they put the buyer into that scene in their head. And that connects all the dots, right? What the best sellers, the best websites, the best brand campaigns, the best conversations at pitch events don't do is they don't focus on internal names, category names. There's a time and a place where you have to get down into the nitty-gritty detail of something, and there's always a place for that on the website that's not on the front page of the website. There's always an opportunity to bring the technical salesperson in to go into that next click down or to do the demo later in the meeting, right? We've all spent time thinking about customer journeys, of buyer journeys, right? And the reason why we even start to think of it as a journey is having a beginning, having a middle, having an end, having a direction, is because we are going through a transformation as we go through that directional arrow, right? That journey. And as we do that, there becomes a point in that journey where we want to see that you can do what you say you can do. We want to have some proof, some evidence, and social proof, all that kind of stuff, right? But you can't break that journey. You can't, you can't, or rather, you don't want to turn up at the airport to fly home and miss out everything that happened on the holiday before that, right? The vacation before that. And that's why if you've got that overzealous focus on job to be done, on the functions, on the features, on the way the things work, and you don't connect into the person as a person, whether it is face to face or whether it's on the website, you're going to scare people off. And it's look, we all do it. And I was thinking about this earlier this week, and I was thinking, I think it may well be the phenomenon of we teach what we're learning. And even if you've been at a company for a long time, you are still learning about the latest in the industry, the latest products, the latest features that you as a salesperson have been learning from the product team, right? And it's so easy for us to fall into that trap, which is actually, while it's a trap in some ways, it's great, right? It's the whole, if you learn something, tell 3 people that same thing within 72 hours, and you're X percentage more likely to remember it. But there's always a flip side. There's always the weakness to the strength, right? And the weakness to that strength is because we teach what we're learning, it's very easy for us to default to teaching what we've been learning. And if what we've been learning is very detailed, because especially when you've been at a company for a while, you are learning more and more and more details, and it can be very easy to go super deep and not stay at the level that the person on the other side of the table is at, or the other side of a web browser. So I want you to think of the trigger, right? There's kind of like, get 2 screenshots of your website and get, here's what our hero says, and here's what we want our AE to be saying, right? Do those things overlap? Do they look the way that you would expect them to look? And that is, do they look the same? Now, we all want our whole teams, whether they be new hires or whomever, to get it and to be able to convey the story that we as the founder want them to convey. So let's go ahead and let's fire up our victim of the day. And as I say every time, look, you, in this case, Edge Delta, Series B, Seattle-based company, you have got a lot of things flying at you. If you're running the website, you are seeking to make multiple people happy, quite frankly, get certain agendas out onto the website, and all of that in addition to everything we've just been talking about. And I've run websites, I'm responsible for websites, I have friends who've run some of the biggest websites in the world, and it can be many exercises in politics and in buy-in and in arguments and priorities and events and product launches. I get it. So in this case, bear all that in mind as we have a look at Edge Delta's homepage. Now, let's also think, as we look at the page, let's also think about the mythical AE that we're talking about. Because those hires, the smartest hires that you have, can still confuse prospects when the first handle is a label and not a job, a scene, a place where they want to get to, right? That kind of the mythical outcome, if you will. And when a hero line and the subheader are all of this kind of like brands and job to be done stuff, your agentic observability team, AI teammates that work for your SRE, DevOps, and security humans. So here we've got, in this case, This is the lens that Edge Delta are looking through, right? They create AI teammates for SRE, for DevOps, and for security. That's what they do. This is a thing, the noun that I mentioned, right? And the challenge is, what does this mean? Why does it matter? Does it matter because everybody's doing AI and you got to do AI here? Does it matter for some other reason, right? Like if I'm a new AE at Edge Delta and I grab agentic observability team and I go sell that, what am I doing? I'm selling the category. Agents, agentic, right? Observability, a role, and multiple agents, beings in that role. Again, category. And I'm not selling what I like to call the 2 a.m. problem, right? What's waking me up at 2 a.m.? What's waking your prospect up at 2 a.m.? And I would bet good money that the other materials that Edge Delta have look very similar. Sales training decks, pitch decks. I would bet good money that we would see stuff like this on them. I mean, last week we talked about we touched on delegation, right? And is that message traveling through the organization the right way? And in some cases it fragments, and you look at the sales guidance and you look at the website and they're all different and they're all in the same style as what we're seeing here. And that's even worse, right? Because then it's like pick and choose, like which one of these noun-based things am I talking about and not talking about the 2 a.m. problem. Now, the best salespeople will seek to reverse engineer that, but you're not guaranteed that that's going to happen, especially if they were up until 2 a.m. working on their sales pitch, because this is the biggest client that you guys are seeking to land. And if you don't land it, then you're not going to be able to hit if you're Series A going for Series B, you're not going to be able to prove that you can break into that market you've been breaking into. Or if you're Series B going for additional funding, or even just trying to make good on the market that you've got the funding to go and execute on, that you're not able to go and win those customers. So that 2 a.m. problem for that salesperson could be a pretty important part of your business, I'll tell you that. So how would you pitch off of this line, purely off of this agentic observability team? How would you pitch off of it? What would you say? Any thoughts on that? Make sure I've got the questions window open too. I love it when services change the UX. And of course you don't read all the emails about all the changes, all right? So there we go. Okay. So how would you pitch this? Your agentic observability team. Okay, so thinking about it from a 2 a.m. problem, I would say you no longer have to stay up till 2 a.m. because our agentic observability team does it for you in DevOps. So very literal. That's okay. You know, taking a step in the right direction, working the muscle. I would challenge you to take that and build on it. So you said you picked DevOps, for example. Maybe we can find out some of the specific types of things that DevOps challenges run into when they don't have somebody performing the task of observability. If we scan down the page here, maybe we'll see some more little bits and pieces. Your autonomous AI team responds first, basically saying the same thing as above. So this is, would you copy paste and use AI to make it slightly different? Your configurable AI agents filter noise, investigate fast, correlate, and instantly enable your human experts with full context, so that you can configure them, filter noise, fast, you can do correlation, instant, enable humans context. So what types of things, again, keep with DevOps, keep with 2 a.m. What about filtering noise keeps people up till 2 a.m.? I was working on a task today that I thought I was going to be able to get done at the top of an hour. And as I was going through the review of the core components, I had a question, and that was between our tier 0 and our tier 1 elements that we're talking about here for these two aspects of this narrative. Is this the logical jump? And I started asking myself the question, and I started wondering, is there an intermediary step here? Do we want to insert a step there? And I went through several cycles of analysis, looking at some of the data, looking at some of the other elements of the story, and haven't solved the problem yet, but did get to a place where I came up with, it's going to look like this or this. These are the potential two directions of the narrative, whether or not we have an interim or don't have an interim. And I was watching the time tick by, tick, 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 tick. And that wasn't, I wasn't getting it as fast as I wanted. So maybe there's some speed stuff there. Maybe the inputs that I had into my different tiers for this narrative were giving me noise. Maybe I could have that filtered, right? So, and if I do have that filtered or I don't have that filtered, how is that going to affect my ability to not be up till 2 a.m., right? Because if all those tasks, that task and the next task and another one, are going to keep stretching out, then of course, then I'm going to be up at 2 a.m. That will then feed into that type of recommendation for a pitch. So what would you pitch off of any of these lines? This one as well, your autonomous AI team responds first, right? With some similarities to the top one. And we are at least getting some verbs here, right? Instantly, filter. So those, that's what we're doing, because when we start to think about that, from a language perspective, when we start to think about the whole picture, not just the thing, but what's happening to the thing and what's the thing doing differently one way or the other, then that's going to start connecting to people more, because it's connecting to those experiences. Remember we said, like, what's the scene that somebody wants to imagine themselves being in? But then if we go to, let's go to, let's see, solutions, and let's do cutting observability costs here. Okay. So when we look at this one, let's scroll down to where the challenge. Okay. Modern observability is broken. This kills me, man. Why is this not on the top of their homepage? Modern observability is broken. Boom! Is it? You draw me in. If I don't think it's broken, I might have some questions. So I'm curious. If it is broken, and if Edge Delta have done their research, let's assume they have, then you're talking to me. I know it's broken. You know it's broken. We are getting on the same page. This is real human trouble, right? But it's buried one layer deep. How am I as a customer? Like, I might not even stick around. Like, I come to the homepage, it's like features, okay. I'm shopping for solutions. I may or may not know that I need this category, but I know that observability feels really bad right now and it's keeping me up till 2 a.m. and you've hidden it one click down into the website. Let alone when we think about your sales team, right? What does Edge Delta's guidance to their sales team look like? I haven't seen that, right? They were just picked on this random Seattle tech company to feature on the show today. New hires, salespeople, marketing people working on content, like if we don't have pain right there and we're not feeling it, then we're going to start sticking labels on things. And that's what's happening with the content here, right? Labels. Well, on the first page, right? The AI observability, like categorizing it. This is a, right? If I'm going to describe some AirPods, right? If I am not going to allow myself to talk about the challenges of listening to music, making phone calls, I'm immediately forcing myself. If you ask me what this is, and I'm not letting myself talk about that stuff, let alone if you're a new hire or somebody working on content or a salesperson, then I'm going to start picking labels for it. So it's white. And I did that on purpose, right? I didn't even go down the, like, it's headphones, right? It's got noise canceling. None of that, from the color of the thing to the features, are about the consequences of not having this thing. You hear this word people will use, and it's a bit of a crutch word, and that's stakes, right? And we use crutch words like we use metaphors for good reason. It's a shortcut to understanding, especially when you're communicating with other people who are in the know. But the reason why I don't like the word stakes is it's too inside baseball for storytelling. Look, I love storytelling. I love narrative. I wouldn't run a company called Go Narrative if I didn't. I love creating stories. But at the end of the day, this is about helping unlock what you're trying to do as a founder, and that is connect and deliver the message to create an effect, create movement. With investors, that's a certain thing. With the customers, that's another thing, right? And if you don't show what the consequences are, if you don't show that modern observability is broken from the get-go, then you're going to force people to start picking labels and spending energy on that. And the more time and energy and effort we spend on something as a customer or prospect, the less likely we are to stick around. And as an employee, the more frustrated we're going to get. And then those two experiences are going to reinforce themselves, because as a salesperson, I'm going to be getting frustrated internally from the internal team perspective. And then my prospects are not going to be responding as well. I'm not going to get as much traction. I'm going to get frustrated from my job perspective as well. So it's just frustration after frustration for everybody involved. So if we go back to the hero, right? If we were to go back to the homepage, right, and think about what does this look like? What does broken observability look like? What can Edge Delta step in and help with? What is spiraling, right? What sort of spike can you stick there to snag people on, snag their attention, collect the clues of this experience of observability being broken, and showing that you're doing this magic to stand between the prospect and the challenge that they're having at 2 a.m. And that's going to be create that scene in the person's mind, use the verbs to engage, show the outcomes, and do it quickly, which is why there was something about modern observability is broken that was resonating for me. And now the next step is try and do it without any of the brand nouns, right? So observability is clearly something that Edge Delta are trying to talk about, okay? I would challenge you, try and talk about it without talking about it. So what is observability? What's that next click down? What are people getting caught up on? And at some point, there's a time and a place to talk about the category. But if we look at some of this, let's see, the centralize, then analyze approach, legacy vendors, business models revolve around receiving this data, it's unsustainable. So these are some kind of like big picture meta stuff that they're talking about here, which may or may not be interesting to me at 2 a.m. in the morning. Unsustainable. What do you mean unsustainable? Unsustainable, like when we hear sustainability, we're often thinking about the planet. Is that what it's talking about? Or we talk about the budgets? Oh, maybe now we're talking about something. Maybe now we're talking about, so can you see where we're going with this one? Like if you're working with a legacy vendor that is receiving an increasingly large supply of data from you to even be able to help you, is that sustainable for your business? What are your costs today? Have they been going up, right? So we're looking at, and I'm not coming up with the answer here. I'm not rewriting this. I'm asking questions about what's on this webpage, which is that thread that you can start pulling to then actually move away from being labels and nouns and details and weaving it into something that resonates from the perspective of somebody who's dealing with this, who's dealing with the budgets, who's dealing with that data, who's dealing with getting the best possible analysis, right? And whether it's headers on the website here, whether it's headers on your decks, on your PowerPoints, your presentations, whether it's the key points that you're trying to make over emails, what are those scenes, right? Think about what those scenes are. What are they for your business? We're picking on Edge Delta here, right? But this goes for any business, right? And it's like with Go Narrative, we are thinking about last week. If you listened to the show, you know that we were talking about legibility, we were talking about decision leak, we were talking about delegation. But what do those things mean for you, right? So we're also talking about those aspects. Like, what does that scene look like, right? And it's this is the third night in a row that you've had to rewrite that single paragraph that nobody seems to be getting, right? That's a legibility problem, right? And every time you've spoken to the sales team this quarter, or rather, every time you've gone on a ride along with the sales team this quarter to the market that is the most important one for you to demonstrate growth on, say you're at Series A going for Series B, every single one of those sales calls, you've heard a different thing being said. That is a delegation problem, right? So think about this for your business, right? For Go Narrative, the as you look at the various leaders within your organization, as a founder, you look at your marketing leaders, your sales leaders, your engineering leaders, you hire these smart people to be in charge of a part of the business. And that means they have to make decisions, right? And if those decisions that are being made are not sending that part of the business in the direction that it needs to support what your vision as the founder is of the business, that is what I would call a decision leak, right? It's leaking your ability to have a consistency of direction with the business. And those are some examples of these. They're not nouns, right? They are verbs, but they are the functional things that are happening within your team. But you might not even see it like that. You might not see, oh, I've got a legibility problem, right? But you do feel when you have to stay up rewriting that paragraph for 3 nights in a row, right? And so that is going to be, that's relevant for our business. For your business, right? We've been talking obviously about Edge Delta, but if we go back to thinking about what your business is, what does that look like, right? What are the things that you help remove those extra cycles? What are the things that you help accelerate, reduce costs, like all of the types of things that all of our customers, at the end of the day, customers, clients, whatever label we want to put them on them, there's a fairly limited set of actual things that people are trying to do, right? People are trying to make money, they're trying to save money, they're trying to do things faster, they're trying to be more efficient. And I love that analogy of the quote. I butcher it now, but it's something to the effect of, there's 5 primary colors and look at all the wonderful paintings that have been made, or works of art. There's 8 notes on a scale, answers on a postcard if I'm wrong there, 8 notes on a scale, but look at all the different wonderful types of music. So you can have a fairly fundamental set of problems within businesses that businesses are trying to do, and all sorts of permutations and beautiful ways that those challenges will come into reality. And that's why you are doing what you do, is you are solving a part of that, right? And you're doing it because something about it, right, that's clicked for you, something you love, something you're passionate about, something through your journey you've discovered, you've learned, you've understood to a point where you know how to fix this problem, right? And staying true to that gets harder and harder the bigger that a company gets. So you go into Series A, maybe there's 10 or 20 of you, and then as you're building to fight for Series B, maybe it's 50 to 70 of the team, and of course it grows from there. And your purpose, your founding team's purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, can get diluted and can get abstracted. And making sure that you keep a hold of that is going to help you push beyond. And it's why I love when we think about the what any of us sell, the how our products work, our services work, is the why we're doing it in the first place. And of course, who uses it, super important, who we're talking to, and when, right? Hitting that right moment in time to connect with a what that's broken for somebody, with a how that we know can fix it, with our what, fueled by that why. And at the end of the day, it's got to be yours, and it's got to be clear, it's got to be crisp. And that is why having that narrative spine that goes through your entire business is so vital. And as your business has grown, that has got harder and harder. You're probably nodding away here. Harder and harder to keep your hands around that because of the 50, 70 people that are now on the team. And it's not going to be clear and it's not going to be simple if you don't have some guardrails to keep it that way. Because what did we see today? What did we saw? We saw the story of the AE who loses the client, the prospect early in the conversation. We saw the story of somebody coming to a website and being confused, right? And you probably had some really fun visualizations as we were talking through this, because it is so painful when we think about this happening, right? And we discovered on our example today that you could also have it buried, not having that more appropriate message where it could be, and that could be for multiple reasons. It could that we could spend a lot of time talking about. But again, that clarity, that simplicity doesn't come magically. You have to spend time and energy on it. And it used to be a part of everything that you did, but as you've grown and your time has been pulled in more and more different directions, and there's more and more people on the team, it gets harder and harder for you to do that, to the point where it's then impossible. So what was once implicit and a natural part of your process of doing what you do, now you have to spend extra energy and effort on it. That's why you've written that paragraph, that elevator pitch paragraph, if you will, for the past 3 nights, again and again and again, trying to unlock it and finding that it's just not landing. And it could well be because there's too many nouns in it. It's too focused on you and your brand and your features. Because you spent today speaking with the product team, and then tomorrow it's too focused on the industry because you spent time working with some of your partners. Whatever the reasons are, you're being pulled in this way and that way and this way and that way, because your narrative spine there is broken. And it's because, like I said, because you don't have the same level of energy and bandwidth that you can spend on it anymore. What was once implicit is now requires an explicit activity. And then there's the fact that you've been in the business for so long, and there's the seeing the wood for the trees, there's the curse of knowledge, right? All of these things are clawing at your ability to get this right. And that's why I do what I do, and why I love what I love doing what I do, because I get to be that outside perspective for you to help you see that and reflect that, to help you process and understand, and then build for you a new way of seeing that clarity that you are able to get your fingerprints on, have that ownership of, and then use it to shape everything that your entire organization is doing from you on out. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining today for another Go Narrative Friday afternoon web teardown. Please go and check out the site. You can see more of what we do up there. We've got a business story assessment. You can take that and you can understand some simple things. It's all about the business, but it gives you a type, right? And you can use that to start shaping your thinking, and then book a meeting. And I look forward to speaking with you in that meeting about what you're working on. And we'll go through the 4 truths as it relates to this and identify where things are breaking for you today and what the opportunities are to fix that, and to see if a narrative assessment then would be something that would be a good next step, or jumping straight into narrative accelerator and actually building that strategic narrative for you. You can start that journey or take the next step after today up on our gonarrative.com, and then email GN help. Go ahead and do that, or LinkedIn, connect on LinkedIn, DM me, and I respond to every DM, every email, and I look forward to hearing where your story is falling down and hearing what's keeping you up when it comes to trying to communicate about your business, and hearing about those horror stories from hearing what your sales team have said, or your frustrations with what you're putting on your website. Bring any and all of those to the conversation, because we'll talk about the product, the market, we'll talk about the humanity of it all, we'll talk about the direction that you're trying to get things going in as we look at what those truths are. Thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend, and look forward to hearing your horror stories so we can flip them around and turn them into a fantastic story. Thanks for stopping by. Cheers.